What's going on, everybody? American Football Network here with another video today. And today we're bringing you guys our Miami versus Florida game preview and prediction video. But before we get started, make sure you guys like and subscribe. Help me reach that goal of 1,400 subs by the end of August. Check out the description for links to our shop, podcast, website, Patreon page, and our college football roundup channel. But let's go ahead and jump into today's video. So a huge slate of games on week one. ABC is going to be the channel to be on at noon. You got Clemson, Georgia at 3:30, Miami, Florida, and at 7:30 you have Notre Dame and Texas A&M. So that is the channel to be on. But a lot of great games also not on ABC. I believe on Fox at noon you have Penn State, West Virginia. I'm trying to think. There's a few more. Thursday there's some good games as well. We got Minnesota, North Carolina, North Dakota State, Colorado. So some big games all weekend long, started on Thursday. But let's go ahead and jump in to today's video and focus on this game. So you look at Miami, they come in after last season, went 7-6, 3-5 in the ACC. They got a pretty good roster, a great defense headlined by Ruben Bain on that defensive front. Going to have a great front seven for the Hurricanes. The secondary, a little inexperienced, a little lacking in depth as well, but right now they're coming in healthy, so that doesn't really affect anything in this Florida game. You look offensively, bring in the big star Cam Ward at quarterback. You get Damian Martinez, Oregon State transfer at running back. You have Xavier Restrepo, wide receiver. The offensive line going to be pretty solid. You return 3 of 5 starters. You do have to throw a freshman in at left guard, but everybody else has started, so they should be a pretty solid offensive line. I expect this Miami team to have a pretty good season this year, coached by head coach Mario Cristobal. I expect Miami to be a pretty solid team this year. Now we flip the page over to Florida and look at them. They're a team that's kind of struggling a little bit when it comes to the program and the direction it's headed in. They went 5-7 last year, 3-5 in the SEC. They have the toughest schedule in the country this year. A lot of big games. They start out with Miami. Then they get A&M at home week 3. October 12th, got to go on the road to Tennessee. November 2nd, they get Georgia and Jacksonville. Then a week later, got to go on the road to Texas, followed by LSU at home, then Ole Miss at home, then at Florida State. Really, the only games that you look and you just see, all right, these are going to be wins, is Samford at home. You would think at Mississippi State and UCF at home, possibly Kentucky at home. It's going to be hard to find wins for this team. I think this is going to be another rough, tough year for Florida. But they could surprise some people because they got some talent. Particularly offensively, headlined by the big QB Graham Mertz, who had a pretty solid season for him last year. It's been tough going for Billy Napier. Hasn't really gotten, he's kind of gotten the fall of just a bad foundation before him under Dan Mullen. And then, just stuff that he can't control, like his, just his players. Some of them getting in trouble doing stupid stuff that you can't, he just can't control. But they hit the portal hard. They bring in some good guys. They get DJ Douglas at safety from Tulane, and Ozzie Turner from Washington as well. So they bring in some solid pieces through the transfer portal. Also get defensive tackle Joey Slackman from Penn. And so, they have some good pieces, but then you also look as well. They bring in LJ McCray, who was the top rated defensive end, as a true freshman. So, he should be a factor as well. Florida's got some pieces. That defensive line is going to be stout. It's going to be the real deal. Offensively, I expect them to be pretty solid. Also bring back Montrell Johnson after Trevor Etienne went off to Georgia. The only really downside is Johnson isn't quite as explosive as Etienne was, but a solid squad for the Florida Gators coming into this one. They get this game at home as well, so that'll play into a factor as well. But let's go ahead and jump in to a little series history between these two teams. So Miami leads the all-time series 29-27. Florida won the last meeting, though, 24-20 in Orlando. That was back in 2019. But since 2000, Miami is 5-2 against Florida. They're 1-1 at Florida. Since then, I believe it was 2001 or 2002 I believe 2001 that they won in Florida pretty big. I think 41-16. And then in 2008 with Urban Meyer led Florida squad, Florida crushed them. I believe that one ended up like 26-3, 29-3, something like that. A big win for Florida at home there. So it's been blowouts this century since this turn of the century in Florida. Sorry, mine went blank there, in Gainesville. But this is going to be a team for the Florida Gators that has the potential to beat Miami again this year. I think this will be a closer game. I think I expect a close one. And I think it's going to be a fun game to watch. Really hard to pick this game. I don't feel confident about either team. Let's jump into our biggest three factors of how this game can shape out and who's gonna end up getting the win here. So my first factor is the run game. Who can establish the run game and consistently get 4, 5, 6 yards a carry in this game? To me, I think that's Miami, who's more capable of doing that with Damian Martinez and that offensive line up front that they have. Florida, they have a solid offensive line, but it struggled a little bit last year. They bring in some new pieces up front, but I think that and Florida has a great D line as well. But I think Miami's lines of scrimmage are going to be better in this football game. I think they're going to be able to consistently run the football. I think they have the better running back as well in Martinez. And I think that's going to make it difficult for Florida. I think not that Florida is not going to be able to run the football, but I think Miami will be less likely to be forced to be a one-dimensional team and just throw the ball. I think that Miami will have more success on the ground, which is really going to help them in this game. Number 2 for me is explosive plays. What teams can hit those explosive plays down the field and can really take the top off the defense and really force them to be cautious. Really force them to be cautious of the deep ball. Not only that, but explosive plays coming in the run game as well. As I'm looking here, sorry, I should have been a little bit more prepared for this, as I'm trying to pull up the yard per play rankings from last year and see where these two teams ranked. Miami last year was at 25th, averaging 6.1 yards per play. You look at Florida, they were down at 51 at 5.7 yards a play. So obviously an area that you want to improve in. If you're Florida, I think, if you're a championship caliber team, you want to be about 25. So obviously last year, Miami, the more explosive team, yards per play was better. But I think that both of these teams are going to improve this year in that yards per play category. How much for each team? Not sure yet, but I do expect an improvement from both of them. I think that Miami is going to have they'll have some explosive plays with Restrepo, but I think Florida has the more explosive offense when it comes to hitting the deep ball. Part of that plays into, I think, the secondary is somewhat of a weakness on this Miami defense. But I also think, too, that Florida just has the outside receivers to do it. You look at Miami's best receiver in Restrepo. He's more of a slot guy, dumping underneath to him, let him run type receiver, not really, throw it 40 yards down and let him go up and get a 50-50 ball. So I expect some explosive plays from both teams, more so Florida than Miami. But I do expect the explosive plays to come, and I think that there will be some big plays made in this game. And number 3 is turnovers. You look at these turnovers, and they affect every single game. It's a key to the game for literally every single game. If you lose the turnover battle, that drastically hurts your chances of winning the football game. You want to be the team that wins the turnover battle. And so when you go back and look at it last year, Miami's turnover margin um, last year was okay. It wasn't the worst, but it wasn't the best. They ranked 94th with a margin of -4. Obviously, you want to see better than that. You lost the turnover battle overall for the season. You want to be, you want to be better than that, because turning the ball, like I just said, turning the ball over affects every game. But Florida, a little bit worse than them, ranked 101 at -5. So neither one of these teams really took care of the football greatly last year. So that could be a factor in this game. Obviously, both teams have gotten better, but it still could be something that plays a factor in the game. So those are my three biggest factors for this game. Number one, the run game. Number two, explosive plays. Number three, turnovers. Now time for the score prediction in this game. And this was a tough one. This was a tough one to pick. This one was really tough to pick because it could go either way. The spread on this game is Miami -2.5. It is hard to it's hard to really decide. The over under on this one is set at 54.5, which is funny whenever I read you my score prediction, because I just looked up. I knew the spread. I just looked up the over under. But my score prediction for this game, I did go with Miami. I just think they're the more talented team on paper. Now, it will be tough playing in the swamp. That's one thing that makes this game so hard to pick, is the better team is going on the road in a crazy environment and a rivalry. But I do have Miami winning this game 31-23. The over-under is 54.5, so I have it literally just right under that over-under line at 31. Yeah, I have it at 54 points for the game. Now, it could be a little more high score and it could be a little low score. It's kind of hard to guess the score for this one. It's week one. These offenses could come out stale. They could come out firing. Who knows? But I do have Miami winning this football game. Like I said, I just think they're the better football team. Although I do think Florida might be a little bit better coach. Florida does have a little bit more veteran experience, particularly on the defense. So that could play a factor. But I'm going with Miami here. 8-point win. Would not be shocked at all, though, to see Florida win this football game. I think it's going to be a fun one. I think it's going to be a close one, but I got the Canes pulling it out in the end. So we appreciate all of you guys tuning in. Make sure you like and subscribe. Comment those thoughts and opinions down below. Check out our Shop Podcast website, Patreon page, and the College Football Roundup channel. Appreciate everybody tuning in, and we will see you guys next time.